In this video, I'm gonna give you guys the rundown on everything Revent Builds did in this past week, and I'm gonna reintroduce you to some projects that we haven't talked about in a while. The action was focused on 4 main projects. Of course, we got the $1 million pool, the Zen Den. It is a 5,800 square foot mansion, main house, guest house, cabana. Then we have this awesome boat dock that is quickly approaching plus 700K mark. And finally, we just started a new spec home. This is where we buy the dirt, we build the house, and then we sell it when it's done. But it's a brand new house. It's gonna be over 5,000 square feet, main house, full guest house, pool, and we've done a ton of dirt work over there. Boat Dock Alpha. This is our very first boat dock. I'm gonna kick this one over to Mr. Buchanan, our glorious project manager, and he is gonna catch y'all up to speed with where we're at today.
What's up, y'all? We're just getting into the steel foundations. Lots of really cool stuff happening. What we're here now is gonna dive into what's happened, what's happening, and where we're headed next. In that first video with Wes, we were talking about what we needed to do to get the site ready for the actual work to happen. In construction, we often refer this to as like make safe or make ready, which is when you come out and look at the existing conditions and you shut off any electrical items or any plumbing, mechanical, maybe talking about any structural things that were impacted, and then we prep ourselves for what comes next. The first item that happened after our make ready was our foundations. Usually what you see is like a concrete foundation or some earthwork. Well, out on the water, we had piles. And piles can be done on the ground too. They're especially helpful in water. And the reason is that we don't have to go place any concrete. We essentially just take these I-beams, or in this case, these are 7 and 8 inch diameter tubes, steel tubes with a 1/2 inch thick round wall. So they're pretty thick. And they essentially just take a hammer and like pound these things into the ground. And these foundation piles are like 40 feet long. So they had 15 piles out here that were straight, plus what we call 2 battered piles. Battered is a term in construction that we use to refer to anything that's like set in at an angle. And the reason why we added battered piles to this foundation is it counteracts our lateral movement. So if we have a pile that's vertical and a pile next to it that's battered, it ends up providing some lateral bracing, so this thing's just not moving freely. So at the edge of our boat dock, on the far left edge, and then the longer, what we're calling these fingers, we actually have piles that are battered. That work took us about 4 weeks, and it's a slow process, right? These are really long steel pipes. They essentially just have to keep hitting them down and down and down until they don't go any further. And then they cut off the tops all to the same elevation and ready for our foundation crew.
Wow, Grant is really hammering home those details over at the boat dock. But let me tell you what I've been hammering while I make these videos. Ends pouches. Staying on top of all the builds, filming, editing, writing these videos can really be overwhelming. That's why I reached for the Focus Blend from Ends pouches. I personally love these things because, as you can see, these videos require extreme attention to detail. The Focus Blend from Ends is packed with nootropics, which helps with focus, memory, motivation, and mental clarity. And if you need an extra jolt of motivation, the Energy Blend has 50 milligrams of caffeine per pouch. So head on over to endspouches.com, use code JGB at checkout for 15% off your order. That's JGB for 15% off. Now let's keep hammering over at the boat dock.
Not only did they drive our piles, but we also drove what we call sheet piles. And these sheet piles, or sometimes we call them coffer walls, these sheet piles or coffer walls are acting as a secondary reinforcement to our concrete bulkhead. So most docks on the lake, actually almost all docks on the lake, if they have a boat dock, have a bulkhead. And a bulkhead is really just a concrete wall that stops the waves from eroding the shore. And this client really wanted their boat dock to be top tier, really nice, super structurally sound. So in order to make sure that not only our foundation was strong, but that everything around it was strong, we added these coffer walls or sheet piles to kind of reinforce our existing bulkhead. Gonna hone in on some details really quick because this is the stuff that I like and I have to make sure it's right. So when we're talking about our coffer walls, these walls are really thick metal, but we needed some kind of like support behind them. And so we actually had some like steel work done by Texas Pile. This piece that I'm actually standing on right now, this is called a whaler. And a whaler is really just a horizontal brace behind something. So yeah, here we have another whaler, and you can see how they actually welded the whaler to the coffer wall. Super good way to kind of connect everything. So making sure that all this stuff aligns is tricky, but when you take the time to think about it, it all comes together and aligns and looks really nice. Out here on the lake, we're working with a fun variable, and that's all the people in their boats. And the area that we're on this lake is actually called Lake Austin, which is a predominantly narrow lake. Out here, when you're on a floating barge, every Friday, without doubt, everyone would start their weekend early and come out here and bring their big heavy boat, and they would create these huge wakes, and it would just rock their barge a lot. So much so that they literally couldn't even do the work that they needed to, not only efficiently, but also safely. I mean, this thing was just, you know, these guys would be out on this barge, a wave would come, they'd end up getting this, 3 or 4 foot swell where they'd end up kind of moving around. Yeah, the wakes make it really hard to work effectively. Texas Pile wrapped up their scope, they did a great job, shout out to them. After Texas Pile is now our steel foundations. Our entire structure is built out of steel. Steel is really strong, but it also rusts. The first thing that happened is we need to make sure that your steel doesn't rust from all the water it's going to be next to. We worked with our painter to get all the steel primed and painted before it actually was installed. That high performance DTM paint essentially coats the steel so it doesn't interact with any kind of air and water, and it keeps it from rusting out. So the first things that we needed to do were to adjust the height of the piles. The piles were driven to basically a certain amount of compaction, but the height wasn't all consistent. And because our steel columns sit directly on top of our piles, we needed them to align perfectly. We ended up having to add or subtract piles onto the existing pile. So some of our piles actually have another like ring welded around them in order to make sure that like our piles are the right heights, and some of them had to actually be chopped off. The steel guys came out and checked the elevation of all the piles, adjusted them, said, all right, they're in the right location, we're good to go. And then we were able to move into our actual steel framing that we're seeing here. This is a really good place for us right now. All of our steel framing on our first floor is set in place and tack welded and kind of adjusted finally, so now we can actually start making these connections super solid. And what I mean by that is a lot of the times in steel fabrication and steel erection, you use a small weld that's like the size of like a quarter, and we call those tack welds. And you can use that to kind of like set the steel in place and bend them and square them up and make sure that everything's aligned with each other. And then you can come back and actually weld everything from one end to the other and actually weld, we call it like a full weld out. So we'll tack them in place, get everything kind of squared up and laid out. And then right now we're in our full weld out stage, which is awesome. Our steel erectors are hopefully going to be done tomorrow, if not Monday. And it's only taking them really about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get this far. And now that we've got our first level done, we'll lay some plywood decking down, and from here, no more boats, no more barges. This is all stuff we've done before. Steel columns, steel beams, a metal pan deck, everything up above. We are right on the edge of just letting loose and running fast with this project.
So as you can see, so much has gone down. All right, let's hop on over to the $1 million pool. We hit a snag. We found out that the existing drainage, there was existing piping. In last week's video, we talked about perforated pipe and how the water will come up into the trench and go into the piping system. We found out that there was some massive clogs and some breakage. What we're having to do, here's the supercar garage, here's the new stairwell and elevator pit. This whole area that connects the two, we got to replace all of that drain piping. As you saw last week, we're waterproofing all those walls as we go. We're moving earth, we're getting our pipes, and then we're wrapping them in all that cloth and that fabric to keep out all the sediment, and we are making sure that all of that drainage is good to go before we backfill. Now, Another reason why we're filming our new videos in this kind of episodic way over the weeks, because certain key projects like the $1 million pool, not that much stuff is going on there, right? It's like more of the same as last week. It's really, really important, and I want you guys to know what's going down, but it's not as sexy as the boat dock right now, right? It's not as sexy as what we have going on over at the Zen Den. So these other projects are gonna get highlighted while the $1 million pool, we're just kind of cooking there. We're letting that simmer. All right, now speaking of the Zen Den, the last thing you guys saw was our rainy concrete pour. Man, so much has gone down since then. We have been framing our asses off. First, I want to shout out our new sponsor, Rainier Plank. They are a specialty wood product that we are using on all of our soffits, interior and exterior. Basically, the whole first floor is a wooden ceiling. The whole guest house ceiling, all wood. Every covered porch, all of our soffits, all Rainier Plank. This stuff is awesome. I've been using it for years, and I'm so glad to actually partner up with them on this build. So behind me in this area, if you remember, we were keeping the existing slab. This is where we poured our new entry. So this is where our entry is gonna transition into the house. The slab was lower down there, but instead of filling it all in with concrete, we did pony walls here and then all new trusses there. And then as you can see farther beyond, we have some piers with some steel columns that actually hold up this bump out of the master wing. So now all the trusses are in. We're putting in the subfloor all over. And you'll see the guys, this material is very interesting. If you look at this material, this is the good stuff. I love Advantech. This is 1.125". This is a heavy piece of material. So you have a nice sturdy base. So this is actually a tongue and groove. If you look on this side, this is what's called the groove. Okay, now come around to this side. Here is the tongue. So now if you think about that, the tongue on this side is gonna fit into the groove on the next piece. If you're looking at all this subfloor, you're gonna see first, the guys are putting glue down on top of the trusses, and then basically, they're gonna butt those tongue and grooves up next to each other. They'll get another board, they'll hammer this all the way in so that tongue and groove is nice and tight, and then they're gonna nail it all along the seams where the trusses are. So that's gonna give a nice sturdy base for us to walk over. The house is nearly 6,000 square feet, so it's also massive. And Pedro and his son Jose, they've been with me since my very first project in Austin. So I want you to just hear this conversation. Pedro, really, I cannot give it up to this guy more. He is the blood, sweat, and tears that go into some of our awesome builds, and you're not gonna wanna miss this. I'm out here with Pedrito. Don't tell anyone, okay? But he's my favorite of all the guys, my number one. We've been together since my very first project in Austin. He has framed every single house we've ever done. This guy is a jack of all trades. He's even done tile for us. When we first met, Jose was just a little baby. Tell me a little bit about like your guys' experience. This house is not a regular house, right?
It's not a regular house. It's like so complicated. The plan is like, it's not like normal house.
This is kind of like part of the course. Like, I'm like, hey, Pedro, check this out. Can you do it? He's like, yeah, no pasa nada. That's Pedro's main term. It just basically means like, don't worry, nothing's gonna happen.
Don't worry,
right?
no pasa nada.
It's kind of like, don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't worry, nothing's gonna happen.
And that is just like the strength and the positivity that Pedro is bringing day in and day out. And we're just learning. Everything's new on every project. It's like part addition, part new build. So how do you guys work through all that kind of stuff?
Man, it's hard to like explain like how, because the old foundation is not like
No square,
no
level.
No level.
What's crazy, Pedro, is like you're still doing it so fast, man.
I think I'm going too slow.
He has been saying that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every day after my guy,
Like, let's go, let's go.
Yeah.
Never in 10 years have we had a problem that we didn't figure out. So like, that's kind of my mantra, is there's always a path forward. And then when I have the confidence of guys like Pedro, and when you just ask him something and he's like, yeah, we can do it, you know? The mutual respect, like we're always having a discussion. I'm not like, Pedro, you do this. It's like understanding. I mean, you've been doing this since what, 15?
I'm framing like, well, I'm starting like 17.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what, you're 40?
40 now, 42, 43.
That's crazy. So if you think about it, going through like college plus like a doctorate program, that's like 25 years. Like he basically has his doctorate in this, and this is the thing, is when you can know that Pedro has the skills. You guys work so hard. And how do you like, you have Heriberto, you have Mayberto,
Cesar.
you have Cesar, like, and these guys, what, man, how long has it been? 5, 6 years with
5
them?
years.
You know, you're telling them, they're lining out, they're putting in subfloor, they're making tough miter cuts. I just want to say thank you, man. And,
thank you,
everyone
John.
loves you on the channel. You're
Thank
the
you.
best. I
Thank
could
you
not do
for
this without
everything.
you guys. We're gonna be talking in another 10 years, man. All right, our newest spec home. This is right down the street from the Zen Den. Check out this drone footage. You can see our new spec, the Zen Den, and then downtown. And we have horrible soil. What does that mean? A lot of the homes in Austin are built directly on rock. This is like a lot of the properties in Westlake, like the $1 Million Pool. Thank God it's on rock. We could never do that if it was completely clay soil like we have here. So what do we have to do? We have to excavate 3 feet of that crappy clay soil. We got to get it all out of there. That in itself is a big undertaking. Next, we have to bring in select fill. You saw us do that at the $1 Million Pool. We had to bring in fill, get it compacted. So over here, it's the same thing. We got to bring in all of our fill, and we need a proctor for each lift. It's lifted in 8 inches, compacted all the way to 3 feet, and we need tests of all of it. For the size site this is, it's been the longest period of earthwork that we've ever been on a job. I can't wait to move into foundation. We're gonna get all of our corners staked by the surveyors. Then we're gonna come out, set our forms, get a form survey, and then we can start to do all of our digging, get that slab poured, and move on to the next phase. All right, y'all, so that is what has gone down this week over here at Revent Builds. Now, what's so beautiful about this new cadence is just all the exciting stuff that's going down. That's where we're gonna be. We're not just gonna focus on one project, because if we have a boring week and we're doing waterproofing the whole time, half of the audience doesn't like it, right? So we're gonna try to show the most exciting stuff, scatter in all the smart talk, why we're doing what, how we're overcoming obstacles. I am so excited to share this with you guys. As always, I love each and every one of you, and we're gonna continue to give it our all. Thank you so much. I'll see y'all next week.